Sunday, y'all. Welcome to today's sermon, Sunday Cervix sermons at Conscious Creations, live on YouTube, and the website is www.consciouscreations.live. I am Tisha Hillman, and I am going to be bringing it to you today, talking about and continuing what our theme for July. Now I've realized, because we switched things up a little bit last week. So it was going to just be for July, but now I've decided to completely expand and complete the conversation about adequate hydration, because the July theme is Coochie Feeling Like. Now, why are we talking about what our coochie feeling like? We are talking about what our coochie is feeling like because it matters. It matters on a number of levels. So, in everything, what I want to do, this is how we're going to start from now on. So, let's start first and foremost before we really, really dive into what we're talking about today, which is coochie feeling like cellular, healthy cellular integrity. I have to remember, because last week we were talking about adequate cellular hydration, and they are connected. But we are today talking about coochie feeling like healthy cellular integrity. So before we really dive into that, I want to take a moment and breathe into the womb. And so what we're going to do is we'll start with our hands on our womb and take a deep breath in. So we're going to do this 3 times. And what you're saying to yourself is, I exist in ease and flow. I exist in ease and flow. Okay? Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate everybody who is joining on the live. Hello. When you come in, let me know where you are coming from. Let me know where you're coming from, in terms of the city, state, just where you are, right? We're starting with a womb affirmation, which is, I exist in ease and flow. Welcome, welcome. So again, we're starting with, I exist in ease and flow. Okay? And the reason we're starting with this womb affirmation is because this is what is necessary for us to remember as we are working with our womb energy. Shout out to all of you. Thank you so much for y'all tune. I'm in the States. I'm in the US. So thank you so much for those who are coming from India and all of the other places that you are joining in from. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of y'all for being here on the live, and for those of you who will catch the replay. Oreo just joined. You can't see him right now, but Oreo is my dog. He just joined the conversation. But yes, so the reason we are doing that is because so often as women, our wombs are not in a state of ease and flow because of different things. And this is why I started Sunday Cervix sermons, is because so often the way that we are conditioned in society, the way that we are conditioned to even exist in our own bodies, is in a state of holding, right? Of holding. And it's like always being pregnant and never giving birth, right? It's a constant state of holding in pain, holding in tension, holding in discomfort, holding in the expectations of others, holding in your own wounds, holding in trauma, holding in resentment, um, holding in poor relationships, right? And so when we're talking about we're talking about restoring our womb, relationships, right? That is what we're talking about. We're talking about living in a space and creating a space of womb health and womb wellness because of all of these things. And so this is why, for like I said, for the month of July and going into August, we're talking about the womb, and we're talking about what your coochie feeling like, because we have these are conversations that sometimes we don't have, not necessarily as a group and as women. And some of us, and frankly, it is due to, the way that we were raised, right? So it's cultural, it's familial, it's sometimes it's religious, it's shame, it's guilt. And the thing that I always ask myself is, why is there so much shame and guilt and all of the things around the woman's body? And that's y'all, that is a whole nother episode. That is a whole nother episode. But this is in part why we have these conversations and why I'm doing these sermons every Sunday. Absolutely, very taboo, but they shouldn't be, because we are the givers of life. We literally birth life. Now, whether that's you have actually given birth to a physical child, or whether you will give birth to a physical child, your womb is still a portal of creation. And so one of the things that we don't talk about is, even if you are not a woman who is, deciding to give birth, whatever the case, you still have creativity. It's still a point of creativity. And what ends up happening, and this is how we get to these needing to restore that internal balance, is because when you exist in a society that does everything to really take from the womb, to take your creativity, to take your emotional capacity, to take your life giving force, to take your energy, right? So that it can be used to create the reality. The reality. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. But, and everything. Um, when you have and you exist in a society that will use the energy of the womb, use your creative life force energy to power itself, right? To give life to other people's realities to your detriment. It is necessary to restore that balance. Because one of the things that we see in society, the way society it has been, is because of exactly what is done to women. The way society has treated women, the birthers of reality, the birthers of all beings on this earth came through a woman's womb, right? And so the way that women have been historically treated is in direct reflection of how society exists, right? I look at the way that people treat the earth, which is feminine. It's a feminine frequency, right? So the way that the people treat the planet, the way that people treat the earth, all of those things are a direct reflection of the way that the women in society are being treated. And so what is happening, and I say this today, is the moon is in Libra, right? Which is actually ruled by the planet Venus, right? Feminine frequency, the planet of love and beauty and wealth and all of the things, right? And so as I'm making this video on this Sunday Cervix sermon, the moon is in Libra, which is the sign of balance. So we're talking about restoring balance, and not just balance to yourself, but we're talking about literally restoring balance to the earth, because so many of us have decided to come here on a soul's mission to do exactly what it is that we're doing and showing up in our authentic selves to actually do this work to restore the balance. And I'm feeling a Baptist preacher out here, y'all, in my town, but obviously I'm sitting directly in the sun and I love every minute of it. But it is what it is. So yeah, so how I came to do this is just through lived experience, right? Through lived experience. And in those lived experiences, I began to learn my gifts, right? And to learn my talents, and seeing all of the things that I have experienced on my journey, as a woman, and in relationships and in all things. things, right? And I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. I'm talking about my relationship to myself, my relationship to my own womb. I'm talking about my relationship to nature. I'm talking about my relationship to my business. I'm talking about all number of relationships, because all relationships, my loves, all relationships start with you, because you are the center. You are the common denominator in every single relationship that you enter. And so specifically for those of us who have the amazing privilege of holding and carrying a womb, we have these extra gifts that we get to use, and we get to appreciate. And what that means is truly appreciating ourselves and being mindful of who and what we allow into our womb, because our wombs are sacred. So, one of the things that you'll realize is that the womb actually sits in the sacral chakra of the body, right? So, down the spine, there's your nervous system that comes from your brain and all down, down your spine and all throughout your body, right? Your nervous system. So, obviously, all of the nerves in your body, they have a purpose. And so, down your spine, at the base of your spine, like your tailbone, right above your tailbone is the sacral chakra, and that is a part of the joint system. That is the sacral ilial joints. So all of that is the creative basket, if you may, right? It's the creative basket of your body. And so what you put into that basket actually helps you actually birth what you put into that basket. So what goes into your body, obviously, it comes out through your body as well, right? So it's just like if you are impregnated with a child, eventually that child will come out. And so this is why it's so important to be mindful of how we are treating our wombs, because it is a seat and a portal of creation. So, child, before I completely like sweat all of myself, all of my all of my little essence, right? Um, I want to dive into what we're talking about today. So, like I said, if you want the notes from each episode, each sermon that we have, if you want the notes, just drop it in the comments and let me know. Now, I still haven't figured out like all of the technology type stuff, y'all. So I will be just sending out emails that have a PDF attachment with with the notes from each one. So today we're going to be talking about, like I said, healthy cellular integrity. Now, now this is where it gets fun. I like talking about this kind of stuff. So, healthy cellular integrity. So, if you know anything about how your cells function, inside your body, there are many cells, and all of these cells have a purpose. They have a function. They all do something. But each cell it's like its own little universe. And so each cell requires what it requires to survive in order to help you to survive and to do what it is that your body is designed to do. So if I should have brought my image, but what I'll do is I think I posted it on the community post. If I did not, I will do that. So it's a womb navigation system. And so if I did not post that, I didn't post it. I think I posted it maybe like a week or so ago. But if it's not, what I will do is I will post that on the community post so that you all can see what it is that I'm talking about, right? Because each one of these cells has its own ecosystem, right? And so if you think about it, around each cell, there is a layer of protection. Why? Because inside the cells, things have to be protected, because all of, it's, we have all of these things that are operating that require themselves to be able to function properly. And so there's that external structure around the cell that keeps all of the things within the cell intact. It keeps them from being attacked from outside forces and things that enter into your body, enter into your field, right? So when you have, so this is why healthy cellular integrity is important, because it's like having your own shield, right? So it creates a shield around the cell in order to protect the nucleus of the cell and the membrane of the cell. Now, when our cellular integrity or our cellular security has been breached, or for whatever reason, the security is weak, the security is asleep at the switch, whatever the case may be, it's just the same analogy, right? But anytime those defenses on a cellular level are down, this is what invites or allows foreign entities, foreign, diseases, right? All of these things to enter into the cells. And so that is why healthy cellular integrity is important, because they are the security guards for your cells. Now, some of the ways that we can, our cellular integrity can be diminished or depleted is through not having adequate cellular hydration. That's what we talked about last week. Because what happens is, as the cells require moisture. This is why your body is 70% water, right? So obviously your body needs lots and lots of moisture and hydration in order for the cells to function and flow properly, right? To do what it is that they do. Because if you think about it, if the cells don't have adequate hydration, then they are dehydrated. And what happens to something that is dehydrated? It gets dry. It starts to turn to dust. It starts to deteriorate, right? So listen, if you are a melanated person and you use, hopefully you use lotion and you use, a skin body, body butter. If not, go to my website, consciouscreations.live. That is what we do. We create all sorts of things for body, soul wellness. So pick up body butter if you don't have a good body butter or body oil for your skin. If you're looking for a luxury body oil, you can go to madamwheel.com, and that's MADAMEHUILE.com. Okay, so with that being said, adequate hydration on all levels is important. So when you consume water, water is two hydrogen atoms, H2O, and then one oxygen atom, right? And so those come together, they create water. So you drink water, it hydrates the body, but your cells need a deeper level of hydration. And we talked about this, like I said last week, where we talked about the depths of the ocean, right? So it's like the surface of the ocean versus the deep. And so in order for that level of hydration to penetrate the deep, you actually need H3O, three hydrogen molecules, three hydrogen atoms. So that comes by way of things like watermelon, right? Because watermelon is what, like 92% water, right? But because it's a different, it's a deeper level of hydration. So if you've ever had watermelon in the summer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It quenches your thirst in a way that water cannot. That is because it got a little something extra to it, right? So in the summertime, right, which is where we are right now in the US, we're in the summertime, right? So in the summertime, obviously the sun higher in the sky, is that right? Higher in the sky. Either way, it's hotter, right? Hence the sweat, so it's hotter. So you want to make sure that your cells are adequately hydrated. So this is why, again, Mother Nature knows exactly what she's doing. So this is why, she grows these fruit specifically in the summertime that are more water based. So this is where your summer melons come from, right? So you want to add these things to increase the levels of hydration, and that is important because it helps to restore, like I said, um, uh, let me see. I'm trying to keep up with the comments, y'all, but stay focused because I will be all over the place. Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, do your research on that. So please don't. I don't want y'all to take my word on nothing. I want you to do your own independent research, because here's the problem that a lot of times happens. Society has been turned into consumers of information, consumers of whatever, right? Instead of informed consumers. I want those who come to my channel, to anything that I do, I want you to be informed. So this is why I go over the herbs that we use. When you go to my website at Conscious Creations, you can see exactly um, what you can see exactly the ingredients that are in each product, because I want you to know exactly why. I want you to be able to do your research, right? Um, and we'll get to alkaline water, but all of this is connected, right? Because it all matters in terms of the balance. So again, like I started out saying, we're talking about everything in nature is about balance. So that's where the alkalinity comes in. It's about balance. Yes, research is important. So it is about balance, right? Because just like there is a sunlight, there is also a moonlight. Balance, right? So the alkalinity is about balance. It is about being in that space where the body is not, it's not causing a reaction either way, but you're able to be absolutely temperance, balance. You're able to be in that zone so that your body is not in a state of reactive oxidative stress, ROS, right? Look that up, ROS, reactive oxidative stress. And again, it's not quote unquote bad per se, but what it is, it's a sign. Your body is letting you know something, right? So it's this reactive oxidative stress when it's out of balance that actually causes deterioration and damage to the cells, right? And so this is why I talk so much about these things, because you want to make sure that you are in balance so that your body doesn't have to work so hard either way to create and to regenerate itself, because your body is designed to heal. This is why when you cut yourself, right, when you get a cut, this is why the body heals. Because what happens is all of that healing energy gets sent to the place that needs it. But if your body is in a constant state of stress, it can never it can never rest. It can never not be reactive. Do you see what I'm saying? Your body is in a constant state of reactivity. And over time, that is what creates damage to the cells, is your body in that constant repair mode versus being repairing when it needs to. Do you see what I'm saying? And so this is why we talk about healthy cellular integrity. You want to have a healthy cellular integrity so that your body can actually perform the functions that it was designed to perform, right? And so when we're talking about the tissue in the womb, ladies, oh my goodness, very, very sensitive tissue in the womb. And so for you specifically, it's even more important because all of those things, listen, and I'm telling y'all this because again, I'm not just speaking to you, I'm speaking from lived experience, right? Um, and so, and I, like I said, I'm trying to see here and answer your questions. Um, so when we talk about, okay, let's talk about it. So when we talk about surplus and deficit, again, it's surplus of what, right? It's a deficit of what? No, you know what I mean? So yes, balance is key. And yes, sometimes again, it depends on what we're talking about. So in everything, sometimes too much of a good thing is still too much of a good thing. Do you get what I'm saying? So it really just depends, right? So in everything, it is, that's why I talk so much about having a balanced, diet, but I call it a live it, right? Because it's important that you focus on having foods and things that actually feed your cells to allow your cells to live, right? So this is why I like making videos and sitting out in the sun and sitting out in nature. And let me see if I can show y'all without breaking my little camera here. So y'all see I'm growing my little garden. So I have my little black eyed peas and potatoes and oranges and all kinds of stuff, right? And I say that because these are the things that I've learned over time. right? If you have listened to, any of my older videos, then I've gone through several health challenges of my own, right? And I just want y'all to know I can't the way the sun is shining, I actually can't see your comments right now because the sun is just shining right on the thing. But when I will zone in a little bit and be able to respond.